Welcome to Tell, Crying Out Loud. To cry about, but we're going to laugh as well. Yes, welcome. My name is Greg Newton. I'm the co-founder, along with my beloved partner, Donnie Jogum, of the Bureau of General Services Queer Division, which we founded 12 years ago. Yesterday was our 12th birthday. And tomorrow is my 54th birthday. We have a 12-year-old child and we're middle-aged and we're doing okay. So what do I want to say? I want to say our regular bookstore hours are Wednesdays through Sundays from 1 to 7 p.m. And we often stay open late when we have events such as this. And usually we don't have major tech problems. So please come back to events and don't expect tech problems. It usually works. It's a service we pay for. Adjust this. Before I bring Drae up, I wanted to read a land acknowledgement and a statement of solidarity with the people of Palestine. So, the Bureau acknowledges that our organization operates on the unceded land of the Munsee Lenape. We encourage you to join the Bureau in signing up to make a monthly donation to the American Indian Community Houses Mannahatta Fund. The Mannahatta Fund, according to its website, is an invitation to all settlers and non-native people who wish to acknowledge the legacy of theft and genocide that comprise the history of New York City and the United States. And you can find out more at mannahattafund.org. The Bureau also recognizes Palestinian liberation as a queer issue. As queer people, we know the pain of being cast out. We have been and continue to be despised by many, even by our own parents, families, and communities of origin. This reality evokes in many of us a deep empathy with others who are likewise seen not as fully human, but as problems to be solved, questions for which the answer is ultimately elimination and erasure. As we watch the ongoing genocide of Palestinians by the State of Israel, carried out with the full support of our government and funded by our tax dollars, we witness the inevitable result of defining a people solely as a threat to the safety and well-being of those deemed inherently worthy of life. This horror compels us to speak out not only against the current bombardment and siege of Gaza by the State of Israel, but against the historical and ongoing violent displacement of Palestinians by Zionists and the conditions of occupation and apartheid under which Palestinians have been forced to live for over 75 years. In our longing for a very different reality, we take inspiration from the words of Jose Esteban Munoz, who wrote, "Queerness is essentially about the rejection of a here and now and an insistence on potentiality or concrete possibility for another world." And that is from his 2009 book, Cruising Utopia, which we strongly recommend. And we sell it here at the Bureau. Yes. So please give it up for Drae Campbell, and let's get started with some telling.
Hey! Hi, woo, 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 woo. Hi, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Move your pelvis a little bit. Switch your cheeks up. Cheeky, 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 woo, woo. Yeah! Move your body. Squatsy. Let's do it. Oh, all right. Does everyone, okay, so who has not been here before? All right, all right. Hey, welcome to the show. Have you been here before? Welcome. We just started and we welcome you. Hello. All right, so my name is Drae. I've been doing this queer storytelling show for 10 years. No, it's really going well. It's always a wonderful show. We do a different theme every month, and this month I came up with this theme a while ago, like way pre whatever we're calling what just happened. Pre that. And the theme I came up with is crying out loud. Has anyone cried in public this week? Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. We need that. I mean, let's have tenderness out in the streets. Let's have like softness. Let's do it. Let's cry. Who wants to close their eyes and just like cry for a second? Just like, like that. You want to do that with me? Who wants to do it? Raise your hand. All right, everybody close your eyes. And we're all gonna cry. We're gonna do a ha, ha, ha. Okay? Close your eyes, everybody. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Oh, you feel it in your heart. I do. I feel it in my heart. Do you? It's like, ooh, it's for crying out loud. Have you all heard that saying before? Oh, for crying out loud. That's how I always heard it. It's not, it was never a positive for some reason, very, very angry, almost a threat. For crying out loud. Why? What are you saying to me? What did I do so wrong? It's like, for crying out loud, like what kind of epithet is that? I'm not a fully, but it's one of those that stuck with me. Crying out loud. It's like, do you get beaten for crying out loud? Maybe. In some cases, yes, you do. Oh, but I encourage the softness that we need right now because I've been having realizations. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of us are having one realization after another lately. There's a lot of clarity coming forth. And one thing I realized is like the thing that like culturally our society and a lot of us societies, I think, believe is that the thing that they want you to be ashamed of is the thing that makes you strongest. And I feel like, I know that's, people have been saying stuff like that for a long time, but I feel like it really like hit me really hard. Like, oh, I have to super lean into my queerness, my butchity, my identity, my butchanas, my non-binarina, my transness, like just really lean into it because it's an amazing thing that people are constantly because there's power in it. And it's the same thing with, all of the marginalized groups. So yeah, that's just a realization I have had this past week. Other things, I've been trying to avoid reading too much news or trying to pace myself. Anyone? Or it's either like you're going full in and you're doing too much, reading too many things, or you're like, I'm not doing a fucking thing. I don't want to look at it. I'm doing this half thing where I'm like looking at a headline, like kind of like this. Oh, so all rapists. Okay, got it. So then I then you just see sort of random headlines, and one of them I saw was America has a problem with onions. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're going with. That's where they're gonna focus on the racism or indigenous. No, it's the onions. Got it. Now, I'm not saying I read it or anything. That headline was like, oh shit, there's something else to worry about. The onions. America has a problem with onions. It's not just like, oh, something was recalled. It was like it had like a New Yorker treatment. Like it was going to be a sprawling, like we're going in on this onion issue type vibe. And I was like, wow, I don't know if I'm ready to know. Like, are the onions made of plastic? Are they? Maybe they're made of cement now? I don't know. People would just be like, yeah, they're made of cement. We use them to throw at trans children. That's what, I don't think that's funny, but I'm saying like, that's a headline I would see that would be like, yep, that's happening. Like, there's no fucking bottom. Like, this is insane. Oh, what was the other fun stuff? Oh, so I was thinking again, having more like clarity, and it's like it's all these things that we've sort of known over time, but it's like I'm having these things come to me like clarifying and really hitting me that like, oh, the headlines want me to do this. Because that way I'll keep reading them. And that's fucked up because you don't know if you're really getting information. Right? I just want you to do this. Because that is, and even like reputable journalists are like, yeah, I had to write clickbait, you know, because they have to make a living. Because the rent is $7,000. Oh God, sorry, not to bring us down. I love everyone. Well, this is the other thing. On the upside is like, you know, we've been doing this show for 10 years. It's a very lovely, wonderful, queer, tender, beautiful, lots of allies, lots of like connection. And I always tell everybody every time I hear these stories, it's like a big quilt. And we're all just like putting these little stories that are patches together. And this is our community. And, you know, the stories are always, to me, a treasure, a joy, comedy, tragedy, everything in between. And also, I like to remind people that whenever we do the show here, that we're surrounded by stories of people who have lived through these terrible things over and over and over throughout history. And here's some of the amazing books that are here, which I always like to highlight. My favorite is Butch. This is a Butch lesbians of the 50s, 60s, and 70s coloring book. It's a really good time to be coloring, you all. Seriously, just lay there. Like, it helps, it really does. And I have been working on my coloring. And then there's Sylvia and Marcia Start a Revolution, you guys, a children's book about Sylvia Rivera and Marcia. I can't. We need this. And, you know, we don't want these to disappear. So, you know, tell everybody about them. And then look at this. Transgender Heroes Coloring Book. Yes, these are all here. And then there's like, you know, novels. This is my lesbian novel. And then I'm just like, also like, I'm mad I didn't write that. Just kidding. I'm happy it's been written. The Power of Difference, Audre Lorde's journey. Yes. These are all here. I just like to tell everybody, like, this is just like, there's hundreds and hundreds of stories and activities, all kinds of cool stuff. Dicks, pussies, asses, everything you need. You know, that's what I know, that's where everybody's really gonna buy some. Ooh, butts. Butt magazine. That's all anybody, they're like, oh, it's a very interesting, but that's on Butt magazine. That's the real. Butt egg.
There's some investigative journalism going on in Bud.
He like, okay. He's like, I gotta go. He's like, what the heck's going on here? It's a storytelling show. No, no ifs, ands, or buts. Oh, all ifs, all ands, all buts. That would be my book. Is that, okay, so is everybody ready for our first storyteller? Yeah, is our first storyteller ready? You good? It's 7:33?
Yes.
So we're good, okay.
All
All right, I want to read a little bit about you. So our next storyteller has been here many times, like 3 or 4 times, maybe? Yeah. A favorite storyteller, a wonderful person, a native New Yorker. That's right, I love New Yorkers, I really do, they're the best. Born and raised in Astoria, Ronnie Mae Painter is a Brooklyn-based artist whose primary media are painting on canvas and works on paper. She's also a published author and poet. Her literary works can be found in the anthology Are Italians White, edited by Jennifer Guglielmo and Salvatore Salerno. Painter's experience growing up as a woman of African-American and Italian-American biracial descent during the 70s are transcended through both her visual and literary works in energetic movements and a shouting tone. So ready up for Ronnie Mae Painter!
I know, I'm getting old. Do I need help?
I hope
Yes, I
everybody
need
comes
help.
up here, not just you. Do your thing, Ronnie.
Okay. I'm so glad we had this time together. Just to have a laugh or sing a song. Bam, 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 bam. It's early in the morning. And I think, shit, that must be some good fucking weed, because that motherfucker would never knock on my door that early in the morning. So there it was, Bobby Bones. You see, I called him Bones because he stood about 6'3". He was as skinny as a rail. And we also had something called ADHD, OCD, ABCDEFG. We both had it together. And when we see each other, we say hi like this and hi like that. We say like this. I say, hey, Bobby. What you doing here so early? I said, get out the crusher. This for Ronnie. I have to sit down. I have to tell you something. You say I'm gonna die of liver cancer? It's gonna take me 1 year. It's okay. Put that around my head. I wrap it and I say, we got a year. So we're gonna get closer. We just get started. And before you know it, 4 months later, he's in and out of the hospital, in and out of the hospital, in and out of the hospital. And I think to myself, I say, what the fuck is going on here? It's not a year, this is only 4 months. So I go visit him every day. And every day I go in and I rub his feet. And we look out the window. And I watch his friends come in and out, come in and out. I'm blinking in and out. I watch his friends come in and out. And every day I watch his feet, I rub his feet. And at the end of the day, I kiss his forehead. Kiss his forehead right here. You see, I always knew Bobby liked me that way. Because at the time I had this big old head of hair. And he always used to say to me, hey girl, you look so groovy. You know, he was a hippie from the 60s, really. And that is really why we got along. So every day I go rub his feet. When I leave, I kiss his head. And I watch the people go back and forth. And so he said to me, Ronnie, do you see those colors? I said, Bones, what color? He said, I've never seen blue like that. See, you see that yellow? I never seen yellow like that one. Okay. So I go up the next day and I rub his feet. So actually, every time I go in now, he goes like this. I'm like, yo, nigga, you didn't have to do all that. I could have come in and rubbed your feet anytime you wanted me to at your house. You didn't have to fucking die. So I'm rubbing his feet and rubbing his feet. So I go in and I go to give him a kiss on his head. And he takes his mouth and he turns it up and he kisses me on the lips. Seems we just get started. And before you know it, comes the time we had to say so long. He died 2 hours later. Goodbye, Bobby.
Give it up for Ronnie Mae Painter. Yeah, you okay, Ryan? Thank you very much. Everybody take a breath, that was beautiful, beautiful, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Yep. I don't even know what to say there, no, I'm speechless, I love your style of storytelling, because I feel like you really share yourself with us, I appreciate that, thank you. Is our next storyteller ready? Yay! I'm gonna read a little bit about you so that people know you've been here a few times too, right? Like 2 times? Oh my goodness, we had a lot of it's all vets tonight, vets. Veterans of Tell. That's what I should have called the show, Veterans of Tell. Like the All-Stars, like on Drag Race. It's like Tell All-Stars. That would be fun and interesting. What if there were reality shows about storytelling? They'd never do it. In our new world that we're creating, that's what they're gonna have. Yeah. And guess we're crying out loud. Thank you. Okay. Rexylafemme, aka Rex Renee, is a trans multi-genre writer, actor, and healing practitioner from Jackson Heights, also from Queens. Yeah, Queens is in the house tonight. As a working class, gender abundant artist, Rexy's work is a love letter to NYC and radical communities grounded in a politics of resistance, healing, and resilience. In all of Rexy's creative forms, he explores the power of revolutionary love in the face of loveless political structures. Rexy is also a practitioner of multiple healing modalities and offers workshops and mentorship on spirituality and building intuition with focus on healing as a revolutionary practice. Rexy's book of poems and illustrations, When There Is No One and There Is Everyone, is available from Magic Helicopter Press. They graduated from the Neighborhood Playhouse School of Theater in 2024. Everybody please give it up for Rexylafemme.
I was gonna talk about my relationship to the phrase for crying out loud. And then I had a sniffies hookup and I was like, how did I get here? What this? So yeah. So I'm a faggot, for better or worse. I can't help it, but it's really what I always wanted to be. So that's the better part. I remember being a teenager and just having this yearning, and also it was an affinity, an alignment with gayness, like specifically gay boys, men together, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I put it away for a long time. But I think I did talk about it, like in a throwaway way. I can remember saying I wish I was a gay boy, but that just wasn't a thing, you know, or I didn't know it was a thing. To be or become trans till later. What really solidified that alignment feeling came one night. I was up real late by myself as a teen. I had and have a hard time sleeping. So I'd be up all night sometimes on weekends and over the summer, or at least till the wee hours before sunrise. Anxiety and avoiding nightmares. My mom was asleep on the futon in the living room, which was also her bedroom, and I was probably bored and stir-crazed and writing. It feels like this was before we had internet in the house, or maybe it was a time without it because we couldn't afford it, or didn't have one of those AOL free trial CDs you used to get in the mail all the time. But anyway, I was flipping channels at the edge of the futon, leaning close to the TV with the sound down low. My mom could pretty much sleep through anything sometimes when she was out. And sometimes she was out because she was maybe taking stuff, which I didn't realize until later in life. And I didn't realize that Xanax and some of the painkillers she'd take sometimes were well-controlled substances / opiates. And she had a kind of barely functional issue with them. Anyway, we didn't have cable, so it was like 15 channels, all the basic network TV channels, CBS, blah, blah, blah. Then a bunch of fuzz channels mixed in with some public access and shopping network stations. Maybe we got TBS for some reason. Anyway, I stopped on 13 PBS because there was this scene that caught me. It was this smoky cabaret dance hall and a beautiful queen framed in blue light. I remember a red dress, wine-colored big lips, a curly bob. Was that Mick Jagger singing? With boys and dykes all around, and I was mesmerized. And as I remember it, I can feel something deep, like nod and tickling at me, my heart fast, my ribs tight, and like this tingling behind my eyes, and I couldn't stop looking, and I was in love or seen. And I kept watching, and it was Bent, which, if you don't know it, is a play and a movie about two gay men falling in love in a concentration camp. Clive Owen is in it. And yes, it was Mick Jagger in drag. So I'm watching this at like 2 a.m. with my mom asleep, and I'm crying, obviously, because it's brutal and sad. And that's how I learned about the Nazis targeting queers. And though this movie wasn't about trans people, Us Too, how they went for us as part of their first wave. This is all eugenics, you know, as America is all eugenics too. Anyway, at this time, one of my journals, a marble notebook, I would collage over them, had the centerpiece, as the centerpiece, this stylized, like posterized, stenciled black, blue, and white image of two young guys laying next to each other with their legs all tangled up in a sheet on a bed together with strange bedfellows under it. And I don't know where I found that image, but I remember finding it and being like, and putting it on my notebook and collaging around it, and my mom seeing it and not being happy and being like, what's that about? But anyway, so that was already going on, this desire, affinity, but it was seeing this Bent, it really got me, and it hurt, and it was like gut-wrenching to hold in that history, like bile in the throat, but it felt like community too, seeing them. And it's interesting remembering this through this sickness and horror I'm feeling for Palestine and the sickness of pinkwashing, which many queers have fallen for, seeing soul-wounded people become neo-Nazis or just unveil themselves to use those horrors, that bile-producing history, as an okay to try to erase a whole people off the planet, to number them, to torture them, to blow them to pieces, to destroy and steal their homeland, to destroy their sacred places, to try to obliterate any evidence of their history, heart, art, everything. And that was happening already alongside me watching Bent for the first time, probably at 15 or 16, 2004, 2005. I wouldn't learn about Palestine for another year, and I wouldn't understand the depth of what was happening there for many more until living in the Bay Area in 2013 and moving in with Talia, AKA Lady Synagoga, as she was known at the time, a real New York City, though she didn't grow up here, working class, disabled, loud and sparkly, fat, anti-Zionist, femme dyke Jew. Yeah, shout out to Talia. I remember the day I went over to her apartment to interview for the room and saw her turquoise walls, turquoise, as she would say, her big fat tuxedo cat Biggie, who she called Mr. Mustache, sprawled across the floor, and her massive disco ball perched on her bookcase, draped with pink anti-sequins, which I learned from her. Anti-sequins is the roll of foil that they pop sequins out of, and she would like get all of these rolls of anti-sequins from like trash, trash bins and stuff, and put them everywhere and make a bunch of amazing art out of them. Anyway, I was home, and she felt, this boy is ours, because I was colorful and poor and from the city she loved so much, and because I gravitated to Biggie and talked to her in a weird cartoon voice, and that's when she knew she would be safe to be a weirdo around me. It was fate. And about a month or so into my living in that apartment, right off Brooklyn Avenue at the top of a hill on a dead-end street in Oakland, across the street from this guy who was a head honcho in the Hells Angels, but who was never home and came like chopping up the street every once in a while to check on the house and the block and maybe, you know, whatever, be a man. So anyway, about a month into living there, Al and Camellia stayed on our couch because they had just both moved to Oakland and were staying in an apartment that wound up being like basically condemned because it was full of rats and black mold and they were getting sick. And in my mind, the apartment was like all dark with no electricity and floorboards rotting out, and it probably wasn't that bad, but they needed somewhere to stay. And Talia felt really apologetic because I had just moved in, but I was really happy for them to be there. And they were her childhood besties from Eugene, Oregon, and they had all worked with this collective as teens in Eugene, fighting fascism in Oregon. And Camellia had at one point, as a teenager, gone undercover into this basically KKK organization there as part of this work, and was still traumatized by her time doing that and couldn't really talk about it. But they, Camellia, Al, who is the sweetest doe of a trans man, lifestyle service bottom, Shira, Talia's sister, became my family, and everything was making more sense. Talia and Shira connected me to another link in the chain of these webbing oppressions, Zionism, how it weaponizes the real truth of anti-Semitism and the horror of Nazi genocide to justify colonizing and wiping out Palestinians on their land, feeding upon way long-standing Islamophobia and anti-Arab hate that is so central to the US and Western empire, all of it feeding upon the white/American imagination. But this is about me being a faggot, so I digress. But no, this is also about me being a faggot, because being a transport faggot from New York City is part of the chain. Palestine is part of my chain, and your chain. And you may not like that, but it doesn't really matter because it's just true. And being a poor trans faggot with the strange bedfellows notebook that didn't make sense, but made sense, and the radical disco ball friends, and that bile of affinity in my throat when I see the kind of pain I have in my body and history and lineage, when I felt all the waves of loss of our dead thousands and thousands and thousands from AIDS and imperialism and just plain hatred or internalized affinity. Remember how they broke Grindr at the RNC a few months ago? And people trying to say we didn't exist or trying to make it so that we didn't, like the Nazis burning all evidence of the Institute of Sexology, where gay Jewish Magnus Hirschfeld created one of the first research centers and havens for trans medical care. They did this as one of their first acts, burn all of their books, destroy the Institute. All of this being that poor trans faggot from New York City with all the fucked up reality of growing up with a working class family, ravaged by early deaths, addictions, evictions, cancer, saving takeout napkins, and their own hatred. That's all part of why I can't look away from Palestine. Being a teenager, having this inner radical faggot start poking out from underground somewhere inside, while Bush used a lot of the same rhetoric and strategy to justify ravaging Iraq, which was a lot of the same rhetoric and strategy his father used, and so on. And being a kid, going to a march on Washington about it. And even then, at that first march, as a teenager, I remember thinking, this is it. I thought, I guess we might take the White House or something, not just walk around. But yeah, still doing that, okay. But that was all happening alongside watching Bent and seeing the Normal Heart at the Public Theater with my mom, and Palestine, all of it always happening at the same time, still happening. And I can't look away, can't disconnect it from my own fear and rage and pain and joy and wholeness. The difference between now and then is the weight keeps piling on. Time and time goes, violence upon violence. And the other difference is the better part, which I am a faggot now. I guess I was then, but like I'm living it now, which is the cabarets and the fucking and the finding love in wastelands of violence and seeing yourself in and through other people, them seeing you. Holding out, hanging on, fighting for your life for that kiss between the fence of the death camp, America, Israel, Dachau, time. The desire is the same with more clarity. I want a pretty boyfriend. I want my family alive and laughing. I want an end to all empire everywhere, all the time, forever. I want the raging heart of love on fire. I want a free Palestine. Free, free, free everyone, all oppressed people, every creature, every plant, everywhere, all the time. Free Palestine, free everyone, everywhere, all the time, forever. Thank you.
Yay, give it up for rexylafemme. Thank you. Thank you for speaking your heart. Thank you. I love it. Love you. Oh, how's everybody doing? Yes. Feeling good in your heart and your stomach. Yes? We're gonna take a 3-minute break. And then we're gonna have one more storyteller. Is everybody ready for 3 minutes of break? Oh, well, when you come back, I'm gonna pass the donation back. But you have 3 minutes. Woo! Thank you.
Recording.
Come on. Don't let them divide us against one another. That's the worst thing. I always say, I've been saying this for years, the best thing you can do, the antidote to all this is like, get to know your neighbors. You don't have to like them, but get to know them. You know, like get to know your neighbors. So that it's like, because I think this thing happens now where it's like, that person over there is my enemy. I can just tell, you know, because there's so much fear, you know. And I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't do that when I see men sometimes. Sorry, just being real. But, you know, what? Tech bros, you know. Right. And then it's just like, or, you know, so it's like the best thing, sometimes your neighbor is a tech bro though. And he might take your mailing for you. You don't know. Or he might be gay. Yeah. And then you're like, are you one of those gays? No, I'm kidding. Oh gosh. But yeah, I feel like getting to know your neighbors because, you know, that's why there's the rent is high and everything is like, because once community forms, community starts to figure out what's going on. They want to keep like uprooting people and changing the rent so people have to move so they can't form connections. So just really try and, you know, form connections within your community and within your, you know, as much as you can with your neighbors. It's not always easy. And that's why they're like, it's hard work, you know. This is the work we have to do. But it's like, it's just at a point where we can't just be like, yeah, elected that guy. I hope he takes care of it. You know, it's just really not gonna work like that, unfortunately. There's like all these really sweet older men coming by and like, what the hell is going on? But just patooties, like, you can, come on in, honey. Okay, we passed the bag, everybody get 5,000, that's the minimum, that's the suggested dodos tonight. We need it, honey. We need it. I'm gonna is our next story? Is your tech ready to go? Oh, okay. You know what? I love a messy moment. This is community. This is our lives. This is love. This is, you know, queer storytelling, frankly. Uh-oh, what happened to my, I'm like, this is it, and I don't have it. Yes, I do. I just want to read about you. By the way, this next person, we just did a staged reading together about, has it been like a month already? No, like 3 weeks?
It was like, yeah, so.
Time flies. We did something in a queer, well, it was a festival called the Breaking the Binary Festival. It was at Playwrights Horizons. And we did a reading of a beautiful play. I thought it was just a beautiful play about family and what else? Like class, very much about class and like sort of like tribalism. It was very, and it was by M.J. Kaufman, who's a really wonderful playwright, trans playwright. And it was directed by Aya Ogawa, wonderful director. And Zo and I were in it, so that was very exciting. So it's a pleasure to have you, to be in the room again together. Yay, welcome back. All right, I'm gonna read a little bit about them. Zo Tipp is a Jewish Japanese American performer. Television includes, I mean, look out for this, Only Murders in the Building. Anybody? Yes, that's right. They just, didn't you just recently do that?
It aired a few weeks ago.
It just aired a few weeks ago, so look out for Zo. Kind of got to be in a scene with Meryl Streep, right?
But technically.
Technically. So watch and see what that means, okay? Also, American Horror Story, Dickinson, and the New York theater credits include Intar, Playwrights Horizons, Pan Asian Rep, Cherry Lane, CSCOSF Play On Fest, Red Bull, Rattlestick, Workshops at Roundabout, NYTW, Breaking the Binary, Playwrights Realm, Pride Plays, Actors Fund, and many more. Independent film and web series appearances screened at New Fest and Outfest. See, very accomplished people we have here. Just so you know, audio narration for The New Yorker and New York Magazine on Apple News. Zo has sung with a few opera companies in New York, as well as at Birdland and Spectrum. They also teach the Feldenkrais method. That's right. Give it up for Zo Tipp. Yay!
Really nice to be in a room like this right now. I just have to say, thanks for coming out, Lord. I mean, right, Jesus. The first time I cried in front of a paid audience, I was about 12 years old in a professional dinner theater production of The King and I. I was one of the king's many children, but I was special because I got to do a little speech towards the end, imploring our white savior lady teacher not to leave us all alone with our brutish king dad. And I got to do that because I was good at it, and I had to cry. I was an easy crier as a kid, but I also think I was chosen to do it because about half the kids and half the cast were in yellowface. It was a different time, kind of. I did it, and I wasn't thinking every night, how am I gonna get there, or how weird is this, you know, sociopolitically. I was like having the time of my life, singing and dancing and being silly and wearing so much hair gel. I would be backstage in the big wings every night watching the monitor and acting out like the whole rest of the show, and then I would just like be on and do the thing. An interesting thing happened the last performance. After doing it like 100-something times, I was there was like a harmony of the story and the here and now of leaving all these people that I loved, and so that was a really magical thing that made me want to keep, you know, exploring what acting is interdimensionally. The first time I cried in an acting class, I was doing a Meisner exercise where I basically had to, like, long story short, I was trying to convince my scene partner something about the end of the world, and my scene partner wouldn't believe me. And like this exercise was just through your task supposed to bring things forth. So, and what it brought forth was that I totally fucking lost it. I was like 15, and you know, just like a room full of teenagers, and everybody was like, whoa. And then I realized that was something like I could really do. Yeah, I think it was skill. I think it was in part because I was like sometimes just like not okay as a baseline. But like in work and in training moving forward, especially as I got typed, you know, with the long hair drag at the time, ingenue, Asian, quirky, I started to notice that some sorts of people were expected to cry more than others. The first time I was told not to cry in performance, I was studying opera. And my teacher basically said to me, look, if you need to sing out over an orchestra to like 3,000 people, if you're crying, you're not regulated, you're not okay. And if you're not okay, you can't control your vocal technique. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but her example, she was a great diva, a white lady from the American South who had sung a lot of Madame Butterfly. Yes, so much yellow face. Oh my God, that didn't even clock, right? But she was like, if I was Cho-Cho-san and I had to kill myself and I really did it for people, I couldn't hit those notes. You know, the story of Madame Butterfly, she gets impregnated and then left by this terrible, you know, white American dude, a tenor. The first time I started running out of tears on a gig, like I thought I was like, but I was on a student film. It was an undergrad student film, and it was they could have been more efficient. So I had to like dig all day long, a couple days in a row, do this scene over and over again where I was having an anxiety attack that manifests as mushrooms growing out of my arm, and it was mushrooms because my mother, I love the arts, because my mother was, I was half fungus and my mother was a fungal alien, obviously, and she had, with her blaster laser gun, killed my boyfriend, Baxter, who was being played by an actor who was trying real hard to sleep with me. But she blasted him, she turned him into a bottle of milk, you know, like you do. And then she drank the milk in front of me, and because it was, yeah. And she said, Delilah, did you like that? Did you like, see? She was being played by this incredible stunt actor who I don't know how they got. Did you enjoy watching me slurp your boyfriend's milk? And I had to be over and your face. And I had to be like in the horror tradition, like for a day, like like Claire Danes in Homeland. And you know, I had sort of taught myself and reinforced myself and been reinforced to do this like immersive style of like mining myself for trauma. So that's what I did all day. And I got there, but I was fucked up by the end of the shoot. The first time I realized I was traumatizing myself in my work, I was playing Juliet in Romeo and Juliet downtown. And you know, she goes through it. And like I was there, but I noticed that I had come to a point in my life where I could do it at work, but I couldn't cry in therapy anymore. I couldn't cry for my friends anymore. I couldn't cry. It was harder to cry for myself on my couch. Easier by far to cry in a crowded one train at rush hour going through Midtown. And so I would do that to get the cry out. I told my dad, like, I'm getting kind of fucked up. I used to have fun doing this, and I don't know like how I'm gonna sustain this this gig or career. And he said, and my dad has a performance background, but also is like a 9-to-5er, so it's some good practical takes. And he said, well, what? Could you just think maybe like you have two buttons and one of them says J and the other one says B. B was the first letter of my name at the time. And like when you're about to do the show, you just say J, Juliet, J, 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 J. And when you end the show, then you say B, 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 and you're yourself again. And I thought that was like kind of stupid. But then I thought, well, you know, some people actually would call that like an in and out style of acting, right? And I said, I could try it, I just don't know if I'm that kind of an actor. I don't know if that's my training, I don't know if that's what I like, but let's try it. And you know what? It kind of helped. I didn't totally trust it yet. So the first time that I noticed that tears could come equidistantly from two different contexts. I was in an off-Broadway show playing a couple of characters. One was a young queer in a conversion therapy kind of cult camp and being quite abused, obviously. And the other was the serpent god of rain and virility that came to everyone in their dreams and fantasy incepted them into being their best queer selves by fucking them. Yeah. But I was still kind of like doing my old thing because it was a lot. I didn't trust how could I get there. So I would be sick, physically ill all day before going to the show. It took everything just like rub myself up to get to Midtown. And I'd be in the headspace of the dude who's gonna get it. But when I would come home, my partner said that I was coming home as the serpent and that I was frightening them. And I didn't want to, I don't know if I can rise to the Daniel Day-Lewis commercial success thing, but I don't want to get there by like apologizing to my partner for what I put them through. Maybe it's not so bad, I don't know, but that's so I was like, fuck, I'm not gonna make it through this. My GI is not gonna make it through this. And one day, like I thought I had the show pretty locked and I decided to just kind of fake it and try to have fun and because it was actually a pretty funny show, if you can believe. And I realized that I knew how to act, as Lawrence Olivier said, and all the good boy, and all the text work, the character, the beats, the research, it was there. There was a whole other bunch of things that I was doing that got me there, and the truth of the moment, and I didn't need to hurt myself, and it felt better actually. And I asked my scene partner, who was like my foe, I guess, did you notice a difference? And she said, well, it's been good. It's always good. And it was good tonight. So I guess not. However, if I think about it intrinsically, I kind of felt more like you were okay. And therefore, when I had to, like lay into you, I actually felt like I could do more. So that was something. And isn't that the point, right? So that show closed early for COVID lockdown. And when I was in lockdown, I realized that the way that I was working was gonna kill me. Because when I had to stop working, I did not, despite having dipped into this different way, I didn't really have access to like the beauty or reality of anything else in my life outside of work. So it was around that time I started to realize that I kind of want to come in and take care of the audience and not have the audience feel like they have to take care of me. And so I learned in the last few years, to some large measure, to take better care of myself and to be more truthful and in touch with my feelings at all times, because I want to have fun and be okay, so I can provide a service that feels gratifying to share. So the last time I cried on a gig, on that gig, I happened to be playing a kid closer to the age I was when I was in That King and I than the age that I am now. And my character cried a lot. And it ended up being a lot more like the fun, easy thing I had started out doing a long time ago. But this time, I think I was so okay that it often made the audience laugh. And I'm telling you all of this, I think, because it has helped me quite a bit to make friends with this practice and this type of access. to process hard things and gestures broadly, and good things even. And I think most of us should cry more and should have more satisfaction in doing it. It can be, yes, it can be complicated and profound, or it can be as simple a relief as going to the bathroom. Although going to the bathroom is sometimes, for some of us, complicated and profound. And I think that might be what's up with onions. But the IBS community will be heard. Okay, so now to demonstrate, I'm gonna, so to speak, use the bathroom for you with my face. And I think it'd be more fun if I have a prop and some music playing. So if you're watching in the future on YouTube, it won't be legal to play the song. So if you want to follow along at home, I'm gonna play a song from a movie soundtrack that rhymes with Jarzan by an artist whose name rhymes with Dill Folles. And yeah, so if you want to join me, or it makes you cry, or makes you laugh, or sing along with the song, or whatever you like, I would fucking love that. But just know that, you know, I'm okay. I'm pretty regulated. I think I'm gonna enjoy this, and I hope you do too. Hold for tech. How do I mute this? There we go. Okay, bye.
He's closing the show out with actual literal crying out loud, and I love the way we all held space for that, especially you yourself holding space for that for yourself. Thank you. Yes, we need that. Yes. Oh, all right. Let's have all the storytellers come up and take a bow. Please give it up for Ronnie Mae Painter. Rexylafemme. Zo Tipp. Can you take a picture with my camera? And I'm Drae Campbell, and this has been Tell. And thank you, everyone. We're here the third. Oh, look at Greg.
Yeah.
We're here the third Saturday of every month. And if you want to give more money, we have the bag back there. It goes to pay the storytellers. And give it up again for these brilliant storytellers, sharing their heart, sharing their tears, being vulnerable, being funny, being wonderful, sharing really difficult, amazing stuff from their heart. And I appreciate you. I love you. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.